Please join me in welcoming Dr. Zia Khan, VP for Initiatives and Strategies at the Rockefeller Foundation, for his talk, Inside Out, From Stories to Solutions.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. The program has me listed as Dr. Zia Khan. I actually don't normally go by that. The doctor comes from a PhD in fluid dynamics that I have, which is the physics of how liquids and gases move around. Fluid dynamics is rarely the topic of social conversation. But there was a shining moment when a group of artists surrounded me and they were completely enthralled by what I had to say about fluid dynamics. I was at a party at a Live workspace deep in Brooklyn, and there was artists describing their various installations, and one artist had surrounded his room with tubes that were filled with fluorescent liquid, and this liquid was meant to pulse as he controlled it with a beat and represent the phenomena of living within oneself or something like that. And he was describing what he was doing. He wasn't quite satisfied with it, though, because it wasn't working as well as he wanted. And as he kept describing, all of a sudden I realized that he was talking about a fluid dynamics problem. And so what was happening was basically he was using tubes that were too thin, and I won't go through all the details. When I told this to him, he was completely astonished to learn that there was even a thing called fluid dynamics. He asked me a million questions. A lot of the other artists surrounded me, and for a brief moment, and probably the last time, I was the most interesting guy at a Brooklyn artist loft party. My point is that when he told his story about his problem, it was rich with details. And those details helped make the connection between fluid dynamics and art. And this is one of the ways that innovation works. And so if we are going to solve the biggest problems that face us today and solve them before they get worse, it's going to be important that we use rich stories to help create bridges from one field to another so ideas can jump across. Right now, New York City is abuzz with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. They were first discussed at the UN Conference on Sustainable Development in Rio de Janeiro back in 2012. 3 years and about 30,000 iterations later, we have our final set. Achieving these goals can change the world. But what are they really? Let's take Goal 12, ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. The sub-goal, Goal 12.3, gets more specific. By 2030, halve, per capita, global food waste at the retail and consumer level, and reduce food losses along production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses. The Rockefeller Foundation has a long legacy in the field of agriculture, and currently, the problem of food waste and loss is a great concern of ours. And we care a lot about this particular sub-goal, and we also care a lot about innovation. Now, written as they are, these goals won't unlock real innovation themselves. If people just look at the goals, they're likely to try the same old, take current solutions, tick boxes to measure impact according to the language of the goals, and continue to make incremental rather than transformational progress. But if we want real breakthroughs, the kinds of breakthroughs that blend ideas from fields as diverse as art, business, science, and technology, we need stories that could spark new kinds of connections. So if I had my way, I would write the SDGs a little differently. I would use stories with them. And I would start with people, real people, say farmers. Farmers who probably don't give a whit about 17 goals that were written in a high-rise building in Midtown Manhattan, but really care a whole lot about their work and what grows and the fact that so much of the food they put their sweat into goes to waste before anyone can eat it. Now, we met in the course of our work a farmer. Her name was Christina, and she's a maize farmer in Tanzania. Unbeknownst to her, the way she was storing her maize made it very susceptible to weevil infestation. And weevils are very nasty little creatures. It turns out that a lot of farmers have this problem. Poor storage can cause up to 100% loss in some situations. Now just think about that. There are millions of smallholder farmers around the world. That is a lot of food gone bad, and a lot of labor and seed and water just lost, and a real challenge for food security. The solution here is actually pretty simple. In Christina's case, Chemical-free storage solutions like PICS bags, like what's up there, were the answers. These bags stop insect damage during storage and reduce the harvest loss by farmers. They are cheap, they do not take a lot of room to store, and they can be completely airtight. But here's the big question. What if similarly simple methods could be effective for most, if not all, farmers like Christina? How do we get this idea to scale up? In this case, the solution exists, but not enough people know about it. When you start telling the story of food loss and waste, and you highlight the particular problem of how to reach people, you can come up with some new ideas. There is a pretty good way to reach people, and it's TV. In fact, we reached Christina by way of Samba Shape Up, a popular reality TV show that reaches 9 million people in East Africa with post-harvest storage tips. You wouldn't necessarily think about that from reading the SDG 12.3. And so what happened with telling this story with more and more details? What if we keep talking about the story? How does Christina pay for the PICS bags? Maybe there's some ideas from finance. How does Christina sell the extra food that she'll make now? Maybe there's some ideas from retail. That is the challenge of development as we move forward in the 21st century, not only to set admirable goals, but to spark the innovations that are needed to make the breakthroughs happen so we can achieve them. And those innovations, I believe, will come from the stories that we tell about people's lives and their challenges. These stories will be the bridges, and good ideas from faraway places can come and fix the problems that people face every day. And I can't think of a better group who can use their skills to share stories and capture the ideas they spark than this group here today. So I encourage all of you, as you think about your contributions to the Sustainable Development Goals, think about how you can help tell the stories. Think about how you can help add extra detail and nuance to the stories and see what kind of connections from different fields can happen. Thank you very much.